Hey everybody, welcome to Bent with Bent number 172, back to the Hovind part 3. We are indeed going back to the Hovind, although we're also going to a brand new Hovind video, which is why the screen is just black right now, because we haven't even hit play on the intro to the video. But I am here with Bent, and I'm going to crack open my beer right now. There we go.
Hi,
Bent.
everybody.
Oh, hello. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing okay. You know, it's been a pretty decent day. I got some recording done last night. I got all the animation done today. I uploaded the first 36,000 or so frames of that animation, and I don't know why I said or so. It's exactly the first 36,000 because I uploaded
Nice.
3 projects of 12,000 frames each. So yeah, I think it's like 57,000 frames or something is the total number that I need. So you know. Which, by the way, reminds me, if you're someone who likes to help out the channel and you want a new way to help out, or you just want a way that doesn't actually like directly send money from your wallet to mine, check the description for how to render for me, which can help me get my videos out more quickly. So there's that. Basically, there's a link in the description that takes you to the Sheepit website, which is the render farm that I use. You download the client and you use the login information from my description, and it's that easy. You might not always get my frames, but even if you don't, you help me get higher, you help me increase the likelihood that my frames get assigned early. So there's that. Now, we just had 5 gifted memberships from Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic. Jesus. Vince, do you know about this, the license plate magic?
No, I don't.
So there's this guy, Brian Christine, who, by the way, absolute turd of a person. Like, we're talking, like, neglect at best for his own kids, and at worst, far darker things.
That's
But he, a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I guess now, saw a license plate that started with 923, and he decided that that was confirmation from God that the rapture would happen on September 23rd. Because it's 923.
Of course.
Of course. Yep. So, but we will take 5 drinks for that, because that is worth 5 drinks. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Practitioner of License Plate Magic. Sorry, Lieutenant Matt, Practitioner of License Plate Magic. Here's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then Farstar Tad for $5 says, chipping in for the Klingon. AIG is a hogshead of Hovinds. I'll take a drink for that. That's fine. Thank you very much. In fact, before I advance the fundraiser slider thermometer thing here, I want to point something out. Normally, at 100%, we get a fancy avatar. And if it's Kent with Bent, Bent wears a tutu. But normally, if we get to 200%, we get a fancy avatar, and I wear the tutu and my human suit together. But this time, it has changed a little bit upon request. Now you can see what it says there. That will be on Saturday, if we can get this all the way to 200. Now, we've had a super chat and some gifted memberships. So where are we now? I think we are at 6%. So there you go. If you want to do some math, there you go. That's how you can get that going. And right now, I think what it would take is, well, probably more super chats and gifts than most people are going to give. But we're off to a good start. So, yes, basically it was requested, like, hey, what would it take for you to do that on a stream? And I was like, well, it would have to be a pretty big funding goal. Because I try to keep my wits about me on stream to the maximum extent possible, while also, you know, drinking a bunch of beer or cocktail or whatever else. So, you know. Alright, but we are here to do a brand new Kent Hovind video. This is Creation Science Evangelism 104, I think, 104, class 5. So, yeah, this is brand new. We haven't seen this one yet, I think. I don't know, they all blend together because Kent is an idiot about everything all the time. Well, that's not entirely true. He's almost always an idiot about almost everything, almost all the time. There you go. Oh, hey, Lieutenant Matt, the practitioner of license plate magic for another $5 says, the art of automobile numerology is called VIN-ination, with the vehicle identification number. I love it. Oh, that's great. You should tell Brian Christine that, actually. Because he banned me for asking him, hey, are you the Brian Christine who didn't feed your children and then spent 12 years in prison after kidnapping them? Is that you? Yeah, he banned me from his channel for that, which I expected and is not a loss. But turns out the answer is yes. Yes, that is the same Brian Christine. He changed the name of his channel too, so that it would be harder for people to ask him that question. He's now called Barley Harvest if you're looking for him. So, yeah. Anyway, but before we actually get into the next video, we do have drinking rules. So, we are going to go over the drinking rules because we do a little bit of a drinking game. And before we do, I want to say, if you do want to play along, but you don't want to drink alcohol, that is perfectly fine. If you want to play along with some other beverage like water, juice, tea, coffee, soda, that's fine. If you want to play along with like liquid nitrogen or molten lava, I would ask that you not. Those are hazardous, and you should not play along with those. Also, if you are playing along with a cocktail that has a little bit of dry ice in it to make it bubbly, take the dry ice out with tongs first, and then drink it. Because if you don't, you might need to have your stomach removed. And that won't be fun. So, yeah, there you go. Fear Mega Thrusting Monger says, wait, are you the guy he pretended to apologize to? No. He did not respond to any of my comments calling out the fact that he was, in fact, a convicted felon for neglecting his own children and then kidnapping them at gunpoint. He decided to simply not respond at all. Farstar Tad for $5 says, the only thing Kent Hovind isn't an idiot about are grifting and Earth being round, and he's still kind of an idiot about the latter. He is actually kind of an idiot about the latter, although I wish that video were still on YouTube, but it's not, so, oh well. Zerolon, who's been a member for 23 months, says, fund the high times, guys, let's go! Of course, you said that without funding the high times, because that was a membership chat and not a super chat, but that's okay. Do remember, if we get to 30 of the teal or higher super chats within the first 2-ish hours, it'll end, I think, at like 10 minutes until we're done. Ben will be forced to read Klingon. Ben, could you show people on screen what it is that I have provided for you as reading material today?
It is Hamlet in
yes,
Klingon.
It is. Could you open the book and show people that the inside, in fact, does have Klingon on it?
I don't know if that's in focus or not.
It actually is pretty in focus. Yeah, that is Klingon. Farstar Tad for $5 says, I'm playing along with liquid nitrogen, but it's okay because I'm an Arctic wolf. Yeah, Bent, did you hear that Arctic wolves are apparently immune to liquid nitrogen, according to Dan
I did not hear
Biddle?
that.
Yeah, Dan Biddle says if you dip an Arctic wolf paw in liquid nitrogen, it'll be just fine. No problem. In case you're wondering, guys, that's not true. People. That's not how anything works. Arctic wolves have like furry pads on their feet and highly enervated pads to keep their feet warm, but liquid nitrogen will overpower that, I promise. Let's see, Pat Volcano Skeptic Klippo for 25, Polish Zloty, or I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, I don't speak Polish. Says, for your kinky goals. I don't think it's going to be kinky, but you never know. Jillian, smarter than Eric Hovind, Ren. Well, low bar, but thank you. I do appreciate that you're smarter than Eric Hovind. Who's been a member for 29 months and is at the amniote level, says, I have convinced my friend who does the really good Tommy Wiseau impersonation to read some of Kent's dissertation in it and record it with a Mothra. Holy crap, I need to be able to hear that.
I want to hear that.
Publish that somewhere. Yeah, that sounds amazing, and we'll take a drink for the Mothra. Zerolon for $10 says, Star Trek is back on Friday. Aliens was fun, but ready to be back. Dapper calling me out for not funding while I'm funding with a Godzilla. And I'll take a drink for the Godzilla. Thank you very much. And yes, that is true. Star Trek Endurance is back this week on Top Hats Off. So if you have been enjoying Star Trek Endurance, or even if you haven't, come check it out. And if you haven't, all the previous episodes, including the previous episodes of the previous show, Star Trek Lexington, as well as the one-shot that preceded Star Trek Lexington, Star Trek Prelude, are on top. Hats off. You can follow this group of players with some changes, as well as a story arc, all the way from the days of the NX Enterprise into the Next Generation era, past the actual Next Gen, in fact, slightly past Voyager. So, it's, I think it's pretty cool. But then we also got Metageeky Platypus Librarian, who gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you so much. Let's take 5 drinks, and then we're actually getting into the drinking rules, unless everyone just wants us to not watch Kent, in which case, you're doing a good job. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then Sanguine Autism Pills Kill the Pain Sonder, thank you very much, gives another 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So, let's increase that funding amount. Look at it, we're already at 24% there, which is actually like 12% there because we're trying to really get to 200. But hey, Bent will get free pizza before that happens. And I might just request, like, could we do free pizza tomorrow? And if not, that's okay too. 1.
Yeah.
2. 4. And 5. I would do pizza tonight, but like, I had some Gouda as part of my dinner, and I feel like that's probably more than enough cheese for the day. Like I don't really need a whole bunch of cheese after that, because it's very cheesy, as it is Gouda, which is just cheese. Oh, and then Pat Volcano Skeptic Clippo with another $5 memberships, not $5. What is wrong with me? What's wrong with me is that apparently I'm already working in on this beer. So here's another 5. 1, 3, 4, and 5. Awesome. All right, so the drinking rules, as you have already seen, we will take a drink for gifted memberships. For each one, we will take a drink. Now, if our stack of drinks actually gets up to like 30 or something, we're probably just going to take finish our drink, go get another one. By the way, I am drinking a beer that I have not bought before or since until now. The Dylan Mulvaney flap that was really, really, really dumb. Because I was at the liquor store, I was at the grocery store that has a liquor aisle, and I didn't really want any of the things. And so I figured if I equally don't want any of them, then what I should do is get one of the cheapest things. Because I might as well save money if I'm not really enthused about anything else. So that's what I did. I got a 6-pack of beer for like $8. So there you go. That's US, not like dollary dues. All right, so we'll take a drink for each gifted membership. We will also take a drink for every super chat or membership milestone chat that has one of our kaiju emojis in it. That's Godzilla, that's Mothra, that's Ghidorah. You already knew about that. We will also take a drink for every time anyone super chats or memberships milestone chats anything to the effect that AIG or Answers in Genesis are a bag of dicks. This stems back to years ago now, when they decided to start copyright claiming just so many videos that used any of their footage. It was extremely obnoxious, and my favorite instance was when they copyright claimed a clip of theirs that I was using under fair use that also involved them using fair use to show a clip of a Hollywood movie to their audience. So it's always fun when someone denies you fair use for using their clip that itself depends on fair use. That's fun. Yeah, Josh McGeese for $5 says, for Bent reading Hamlet in the original Klingon. Yes, Bent will indeed be forced to read the original Hamlet in the original Klingon. So, and but you don't have to start at the beginning. You can just open the book to wherever you want, by the way.
I'm on page 121.
All right, well, there you go. All right, we had Chatch actually read and translate the Book of Jonah on the channel.
That sounds really hard.
It's not that bad, but it's definitely harder than anything I'm going to make you do today. Dutch, the Place of Hostility's Tunicate for $5 says, my retinas will burn if I see a single Kent Hovind pixel. That's why you must get drunk with a Godzilla. Well, We're working on it, and I'll take a drink for that. Look, I got 5 more of these beers. If you just want to make this into a, like, how many beers can we make Dapper drink before ever playing a single bit of Kent Hovind? That's fine. I'll be, relatively sloshed, but that's okay. I'm prepared. I don't have to wake up early in the morning. Because I set my own schedule. I can do whatever the heck I want, as long as it gets done. It's one of the perks of doing YouTube as a job, is as long as the work gets done, I can move it to wherever. So it's like, it's not like having lots of free time, because it's not literally having lots of free time, but it does mean that whenever I need free time at a particular time, I can have it if I need it. Lieutenant Matt, the practitioner of license plate magic, for $5 says, I saw a license plate with the number 06452, and I prophesy that this will be nearly as intelligent as making a rapture prediction. Oh man, the rapture predictions. What crazy stuff, man. You would think at some point people would learn, hey, stop predicting the rapture. It never, ever works out. There have been so many disappointments. And yet still, I guess people want that rapture. I mean, to be fair, I guess if I thought that there was an actual real possibility that I was going to get sucked up into heaven and never have to deal with this crazy planet again, I can see the appeal. I get it. That does actually kind of sound appealing. Josh McGee's for $5 says, Mehr Bier. I think that's German for more beer. I don't actually speak very much German, so sorry. But then Far Star Tad for $5 says, do you get fired yet? I'm worried about it. Oh, sorry, did you get fired yet? I'm worried about it. I will have to spend more time harassing Kip then. Look, I don't actually endorse harassing Kip unless your name is Dapper Dinosaur, in which case you should absolutely harass Kip. Yeah. Which maybe I do in my group chat called The Niche Market that I have with him and Vishanti, where it's just us three talking about really weird niche interest stuff, like when I found a video of someone trying to use the Black Hebrew Israelite version of Hebrew and just copy-pasting words out of a modern Hebrew dictionary and saying it was Paleo-Hebrew, even though those are words that entered Hebrew in the 20th century. Like, just a borrowing from English for artichoke. I was like, that's Paleo-Hebrew. Yeah, I'm sure it's Paleo-Hebrew, buddy. Pat Volcano Skeptic Klippo for 25 Polish zloty said, I saw license plate 42069. And I prophesy I'm going to have a good evening. Wow. Well, if that is a prophecy, then yeah, you probably are going to have a very good evening. Good luck to you, sir and or madam. All right. We will also take a drink if Kent Hovind says something that is so stupid that we just kind of have to. We'll also take a drink if Kent Hovind tells a joke that doesn't land or a story that didn't happen. Now, the story that didn't happen bit is a bit of a judgment call. Also, Josh McGee says, that's correct, more beer in German. Also, I want to point out that beer should be capitalized because nouns get capitalized in German. All of them, not just the proper nouns. We will also take a drink if Kent Hovind gets something right, where he's not just quoting from something. So if he actually has a correct thought in his brain, and he expresses it to us, and he's not just reading it off of something, we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink if Kent Hovind mentions that political party from Germany that was very popular in like the 1930s, and that is apparently becoming more and more popular here in this country, day by day. Although, to be fair, their popularity actually has been slipping a bit, and the polls aren't like super great for them. So, like, there's some amount of hope there. We will also take a drink if Kent Hovind mixes up what we can know about Lucy, single specimen Lucy of Australopithecus afarensis, with what we can know about any larger taxon to which she belongs, based on other skeletons. So, for example, if he's like, well, we don't know if these apes could have walked upright because Lucy didn't have no feet. All right, well, we have other feet, and we do know now. We call that an ad hominid. We only get one of those per stream. Also, if Kent Hovind cites a source and we look up the source, and not only does that source not support his claims, but it actively contradicts his claims, we call that a Trojan source. We take a drink for that. It's similar to the first law of Flurf. Or is that the second law of Flurf? I don't remember the laws of Flurf in order. Sorry. I know. MC2 will come by and punch me for that. Sorry, Toon. You know, people for a while thought that I had beef with Toon based on, like, we disagree about Isaiah 42 or something. And it's like, no, I'm not going to base beef with someone on a disagreement about a single chapter in Isaiah. I can't imagine why I would do that. So it's a, yeah. We will also take a drink if either Bent or I can predict what's coming next, or if I make a mistake with the production. So, for example, if I mute myself or fail to unmute Bent after a break or something like that, that will be it. Dapper's a professional. Now, if it's actually like a hardware or a software problem, like a program crashes, my computer explodes, as I hear that computers do sometimes if you don't take breaks every once in a while, or if like YouTube headquarters gets swallowed up into the pits of hell, those aren't on me. That's not a Dapper's a professional. But yeah, if it's an actual mistake I've made, and that's Dapper's a professional. Now we have a few things to read here. The power of nuh-uh for 200 Argentinian pesos says, in an unrelated note, I once stayed at a hotel for work, and the address was Mr. German 1945. Being Polish, that was a bit awkward. Yeah, that's weird. I wouldn't be super happy about that, and I'm not Polish or Jewish or Romani uh, or Jehovah's Witness. I'm not going to tell you about sexual orientation, but like, yeah, I'm generally outside the categories that were targeted. I'm not. Yeah, like I'm not in a wheelchair, which is another group that he targeted. Yeah, even so, it would still be very weird. Lieutenant Matt the Practitioner, oh, the license plate magic for $5 says, what does Strong's Concordance have to say about this? I don't care, because Strong's Concordance is largely useless. There's very little point to use Strong's Concordance. If you know enough to be able to use Strong's Concordance effectively, you know enough to use a lexicon, so there's no point. If you don't know enough to use a lexicon, you don't know enough to use Strong's Concordance, so again, there's no point. Concordances are just a weird thing that like helps people who don't actually know what they're doing feel like they do. That's my opinion on it anyway. I guess unless you just want weird statistical information, like how often does this word come up in the Bible? Okay, sure, I guess it'll tell you that, but like, why would you ever want to know that? I don't know. Naranda puts for who's been a member for 24 months says capital letters double the letter count for no reason. Wait, they do? I was probably to stop people from yelling and doing all caps in super chats. Oh man. All right, yeah, I get that, but I don't know if I like it. That's weird. Okay. Well, hey, we're at 37%. So, Bent, free pizza is a distinct possibility.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. We have gone through all of the super chats, all of the rules. Unless I missed any. Did I miss any, Bent?
Did you mention auditory Godzilla?
I didn't.
Or
Yeah.
Mothra sounds?
If Godzilla or Mothra come by audibly, then we will take a drink for that. That's a bit of a semi-random kind of a thing. So, all right. Well, now I think we've mentioned all of them. So let's hit play and see what Kent has for us in the new video, which I'm pretty sure is a new video. It's also possible I'm just misremembering, and this is actually a very old video, and we're just watching it now. We'll find out.
Well, good evening. Welcome to class number 5 of our CSE Class 104. I apologize for my voice. I was preaching in Pennsylvania this week, and I overdid it or something.
Kent, you should always apologize for your voice, not just now that it's a little scratchy, because quite frankly, the problem that I have with your voice isn't the scratchiness. It's the lies it tells. Let's see. Prixie Volcano Purist Purple says, Dapper, are you a communist or a trade unionist? I hear they were the first they came for. Oh, that's a good point. Well, I'm definitely not a trade unionist. I don't think I'm a communist. I don't know. I mean, if I were a communist, I probably wouldn't tell you because I try not to give away like too much about my political affiliation, although it's becoming less and less easy to hide lately. I miss the days when I could say that, you know, like, we could have disagreements about politics. And what I meant by that was, like, we could disagree about what the appropriate taxation rate was on, like, marginal unrealized capital gains taxes. Unfortunately, now it's like, hey, we can have disagreements about who should be afforded the right to access housing. No, we can't. It's not a debatable topic. Sorry. So, yeah.
We can't talk very well. We'll try to get this out as well as possible. So
Well, Kent, we've got an hour and 1 minute and 46 seconds of you left to go, so my guess is that you're going to fill it with plenty of the sound of your own voice.
Listen carefully. We left off talking about the flood in the days of Noah in Genesis chapter 8, verse number 1. It has a very interesting verse. It tells us the waters.
For $5, Josh McGee says, Kent's apology is long overdue. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not even an apology for what he needs to apologize for. Like, I'll be honest. I have never heard anyone say I'm sorry for my voice and then actually felt like I needed an apology for how they sounded. Like, it's okay. Your voice changes from day to day, and sometimes you get sick. I get it. I'm not watching your YouTube video solely for the wonderful sound of your voice, most likely at least. Although, hey, I did use my sound booth that I was very, very generously given by a number of people, including Jake Nelson, Josh McGee, Anonymous, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, Megan Sanders, Jack Dahlman, and Daniel Fitzpatrick last night to record. And I also used the twine I bought to mount the microphone at a decent place. So I think the sound quality is even better than the time before that. So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway, let's see. Farstar Tad for $5 says, we disagree about marginal tax rates. I'm photoshopping you out of that picture of us by the river with the Godzilla. Oh no! Also, how do you know we do actually disagree? I didn't tell you what my position was on what the marginal tax rate should be. Maybe we agree completely.
Assuaged. During the flood, all sorts of things were formed. The natural gas was formed. The
Physically impossible.
coal
Physically impossible.
formation would have come in during the flood and because of the flood. Down near the South Pole, it's interesting. If you read, you look at National Geographic map of the South Pole, it says they found anthracite coal near the South Pole.
Okay.
And leaves and all sorts of things found. Well, there's no plants growing on Antarctica, so how do you get...
Well, there are a few on the Antarctic Peninsula, and they're spreading south, which is troubling. But this is pretty easy. Antarctica used to not be over the South Pole. There you go. I solved it. And even when it was, the Earth was warmer. I mean, it wasn't as far south as it is now, which means it was less well-centered, I suppose. Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic for $5, says, if you're going to make a spelling error, please don't use ass-waged. I will try not to use ass-waged. Yeah, that would be a bad one. I wouldn't want to do that one. All right, let's update this. All right, we're already at 40%. In fact, I think we only need to get around like 80%, 86%, I think, for free pizza.
Really?
Yeah, so we're almost halfway to free pizza.
Thanks.
Yeah. Which is almost halfway to Dapper Gets High.
Which is a good goal.
Yeah.
coal at the South Pole. One explanation is the South Pole used to be up near the equator.
I'm taking it. I'm checking. The South Pole literally can't be at the equator. The equator is right between the two poles. If you shifted where the pole was, it would also shift where the equator is. Okay, so let's talk about a spinning object. A spinning object has an axis around which it spins. This is called the rotation or spin axis. If you think about a car, it's like the axle of your wheel, right? That's a line that you can imagine going through the wheel, and it spins around that. So that the point, if all you're concerned of is just the spin of the object, the point at the poles stays steady. It doesn't actually move. It only spins around. It doesn't physically move through space. Okay. The equator is a plane that goes through the middle of that object that is perpendicular to the line of the spin axis. So if you shift where the poles are on an object, meaning that it starts spinning around a different axis, that necessarily and definitionally changes where the equator is. So you could say, what if the pole was where the equator is now? But you can't say, what if the pole was closer to the equator? Because it literally can't be in terms of polar coordinates. Now, in terms of linear distance, sure, you could just shrink the whole Earth, and then in terms of how far it would take you to, or how long it would take you to walk from pole to equator, I guess that would make it shorter, but that's just by shrinking the whole planet. And yeah, Fearmonger says, didn't you mention how Kent is still kind of dumb about the globe Earth? I sure did. Although someone else mentioned it first. But yeah, here we have a shining example of Kent being, in fact, very dumb about the globe Earth. He's like the worst globe head. Or is it a globy? You know, we'll find out. We're going to do a poll. Which is the better pejorative? We got globy and globe head. And then, of course, we need to have in a turtle. By the way, I recently just, like, shattered Vishanti's entire worldview when it comes to snapping turtles. Because, for her, snapping turtles were something that she basically treated like the xenomorph from Alien, where, like, it is entirely just a monster that is out to kill you, and there is no way in which a human and a snapping turtle can coexist in proximity to each other. But then I showed her several videos of snapping turtles cuddling with people, crawling up to get chin scritches and head pats and whatnot. And she had to take a little while to process this. Because it was like her entire world was turning upside down. So, yeah. It turns out that if you actually don't mistreat a snapping turtle and it gets used to you, it can become a cute, adorable little puppy dog turtle. And if you say, but it could still, yeah. And if you say, yeah, but it could still take off your finger, so could a dog. Dogs are perfectly capable of severing your finger. You know why you're not scared of it usually? Because you know the dog. The dog knows you. You know the dog likes you. It wants to be friends with you. It's also why you don't approach an angry dog. Just like you don't approach an angry snapping turtle. Okay.
I think that's a lousy explanation, but that's the one that's in the textbooks.
No, Kent, it's not. It's that Antarctica was closer to the equator. Not that the South Pole was closer to the equator, which isn't even it's not even mathematically possible, since these are mathematically defined things. Why is he so bad at everything? Like, I've said this many times, but the things that really get me is when he's bad at things he doesn't need to be, right? Like, in order to be a young Earth creationist, you have to be bad at certain things just to maintain that belief, or to promulgate that belief, right? Like, you can't be good at genetics and be a young Earth creationist. It's just physically not possible. And if you are good at genetics and you want to stay a young Earth creationist, you can only do it by lying and acting like you're bad at it. But with this, like, what the equator even is and what the pole even is, he doesn't have to be bad at that. There's nothing about what a pole is or an equator is in terms of, like, their mathematical definitions that make any of this a problem for young Earth creationism on its own. Josh McGee's for $5 says, I'd vote Globy except for the association I have with the character from Pee-wee's Playhouse. I mean, that's fair. Right now, I believe Globehead is winning. So, do with that what you will. Yes, it is. Globy is at 33%, Globehead is at 40%, and Turtle is at 27%. And also, we only need 12 more Super Chats before we make Bent read some Klingon.
Wow. Yeah. That sounds exciting.
Yeah. How do you think you'll do?
F+.
F+? Okay.
Yeah.
The other explanation is the whole Earth used to have a more tropical paradise. Stuff lived everywhere.
I think you meant climate, but it's actually a combination of both that are true. The Earth did, in fact, it used to have a much more warm climate, which we can call tropical if you want. It's not true from a geometric or cartographic standpoint, but it's true enough from, like, a climatological standpoint. And also, Antarctica used to be farther north.
And the continents today is a pure coincidence based upon the water level. If you raise or lower the water, everything changes. And what it was like before the flood, there's absolutely no way to tell, as far as I can figure out. Garden of Eden could have been right here in Pensacola, Florida. Right now it might be under 500 feet of mud.
So it's an interesting thing, because the Bible tells us the Garden of Eden is between the Tigris and the Euphrates. And at no point does it ever mention anyone renaming the Tigris and the Euphrates, or does it say what was then called the Tigris and the Euphrates? Nothing like that, right? And if we're going to accept Kent's, favored idea for the authorship of, say, Genesis, which is that Moses wrote it primarily, or that it was compiled by the actual, patriarchs up to Moses, and he collected it. Either way, Moses should have known whether or not it was the same Tigris and Euphrates. And this also ties into the flood myths of other cultures in the ancient Near East, right? Where the geographical markers of the world stay the same before and after the flood. And so what's actually going on here is that the flood narrative is imagining a world in which the water comes up, everything drowns, and then the water goes back down, and then the world itself is largely unchanged. And this is, to a large extent, because this was written before people realized that the Earth was a dynamic object that changed over time, but usually on time scales that are too long for people to observe. So they imagined that the Earth just was the Earth. The ocean is where it's always been, where it always will be. Those mountains are where they always have been and always will be. And that's also part of the whole, God set the Earth on foundations that it will never be shaken or moved. That's part of the idea of this permanence of the Earth. And so if you take that into account, and you also take into account the wider cultural milieu in which this text comes from, you'll realize that what's being described is the same Tigris and Euphrates. The Garden of Eden, according to the Bible, is in modern-day Iraq. Exactly where in modern-day Iraq? I don't know. There's a whole area that's that whole Mesopotamia thing, which is Greek for between the rivers. Not actually between two rivers. There's no two in there, just between rivers, but whatever. So yeah, we know where the Garden of Eden is according to the Bible. It's in the Fertile Crescent. It's in Mesopotamia, which is in modern-day Iraq. All right, we got a few super chats here. Joshua Geese for $5 says, F plus for when you want your F with fewer ads.
Exactly.
It's like you need to get Salvation Plus. Otherwise, you're going to get ads in heaven. It's going to be terrible. You laugh, but that actually comes out of that whole Brian Christine thing, where apparently he had the Salvation Plus option, and the other Christians, the ones who weren't predicting the rapture, apparently weren't going to get raptured because they only subscribed for the basic salvation plan. But he signed up for Salvation Plus, which means he gets raptured, but you probably don't there, Ben. Sorry.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know. Yeah. He also compared himself to Mary and Martha, with him being Mary. That was
Okay.
Yeah, that was weird. Kent Jeffrey of Arimathea Halstead, who's been a member for 13 months, says the South Pole at this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen? Then a deal with a Darwin and a Godzilla, and we'll drink that Godzilla. To which I have to say, yes. And no, you can't see it. Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic for $5, says Kent should not risk his life in a battle of wits against the koala. He really shouldn't. He would lose against the koala. Jennifer Silvis for $2 says Klingon, Klingon. But can you say Klingon, Klingon in Klingon, Bent?
Klingon, Klingon.
There you go.
It's
Pat
not great.
Okay. It was pretty good. Volcano Skeptic Clippo for 25 Polish Zloty says AIG is a bag of stiff cedars. Sorry. That one got me. Bag of stiff cedars. I'll take a drink. Thank you. All right, and we need to update this badly. All right. 45%. Which I do believe means that we are more than halfway to Bent getting some free pizza. All right, here we go.
Some people have argued, oh, well, the river Euphrates is mentioned in the Bible as being in the Garden of Eden. Mm-hmm. That's true. And the river Euphrates is in Baghdad.
Well, it's a lot bigger than that, Kent, but sure. It's a little weird. It's like saying, I don't know, it's like saying the Mississippi is in New Orleans. It's like, well, part of it is. Part of it is. For $5, Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic, who seems to really want to hear you speak some Klingon there, Bent, says, given his previous activities or lack thereof, I think Brian believes food normally appears by magic. Ooh. Well, it does in Exodus. So there is that. God's like, boom, manna. And then later he's like, boom, so many quails, it'll be coming out of your nostrils. Which, by the way, is actually what it says in the Hebrews. In the Hebrew, I mean, it says that it will come out of your nostrils. It will send so much quail, it will come out of your nostrils. So, like, God's literally like, oh, you want meat? You have so much meat, it's going to be coming out of your nose. And then, the people who ate it died. So, just eat the manna. Stupid people in the desert. Which also, there is no way to wander in that desert for 40 years unless that's your intent. Like, crossing that desert is not even close to a 1-year journey. So, yeah.
Well, this river Euphrates is. It doesn't mean it's the same thing.
There is no reason other than extra biblical reasons there where you need dogmatically to harmonize what you think of as reality with what you think of as the correct interpretation of Scripture. To believe that the river Euphrates and the Tigris, which is also mentioned in Genesis, are not the same ones. Literally nothing in the text would ever indicate to anyone approaching it that it is not the same river, unless you presuppose that you have to find that it is both that it is historical, that it is entirely internally consistent, and that it is literal. If you get rid of any one of those, the need for it to be a different river completely vanishes, and you can just take the text at face value that what it means is the Tigris and the Euphrates. It's always amazing to me the degree to which, if you really sit down and think about it, a lot of so-called literalists of the Bible are neither literalists nor do they have all that much respect for the actual Bible. They have a lot more respect for the straw man of the Bible that they've constructed in their heads that has very little to do with what's actually in the Bible.
People got off the ark and they probably said, wow, that looks like that river we had before the flood. And they named it the same thing.
Again, not indicated anywhere in the text. This is what's called eisegesis, Kent, where you take your own ideas and read them into the text. It's generally frowned upon, even in Christian circles. I don't know if you have heard about this, Bent. When I was growing up in an evangelical church, I was warned about the difference between eisegesis and exegesis, and how eisegesis was bad. Exegesis, where you just take meaning from the text, was good.
Mhm.
Were you also warned about the dangers of eisegesis?
No, I was not.
Well, maybe next time.
I know.
Maybe next time you're growing up in an evangelical church.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic, for $5 says Adam and Eve got kicked out by their dad and had to go live in a van down by the rivers. Yes, indeed, except for the van part. But yes, nice. All right, and how close are we with that goal? Wow, we only need 7 more. I think that's a pretty good chance you're going to have to read some Klingon here coming up soon.
I think so too.
Well, I hope that you selected a good passage.
I've selected a random passage.
You could look up the what like scene and act number is the famous soliloquy.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to pick randomly.
All right, fine.
I know.
Joshua Geese for $5 says everyone knows that the Euphrates is in England and the new Euphrates is in New Jersey. Yes, of course. Or maybe it's in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or Missouri, or whatever it is. Whatever it is with the Mormons. Which, by the way, probably should have said something earlier. Guys, if you know any Mormons out there right now, they're probably having a rough time, and so it would probably go a long way if you reached out and let them know that you're thinking about them as a result of your recent terrorist attack on a Mormon meeting hall recently. So, yeah, if you know any Mormons, I don't know, take a second to send them a DM or send them a text or a phone call or something, maybe in the morning or something, just to check in, see how they're doing, and offer your support if they need it, because I know what it's like to have a place that you have connections to get attacked, and it really, really sucks. So, yeah. I'm going to hit play.
It's like people came from York and named it New York when they got over here, and New Hampshire and all those kind of things. I was in up near...
I think that was a prediction from Joshua Geese. I'm going to take a drink for Joshua Geese getting a correct prediction right there.
Moscow, Idaho. Well, it's not the same as Moscow, Russia. It just has the same name, that's all. So, after, excuse me.
I found out there are like 26 Springfields in the United States.
Only 26?
Yeah, but it's the second most common place name. You know what the first most common one is?
No.
Washington.
In Genesis chapter 8, verse 1, it tells us, God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark, and God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. Now, many new versions of the Bible have changed this, and I think have messed it up.
Did they change it, or is assuage just not a word in common use now? And so when translating it into current day English, they did use it because the meaning is better captured by modern hearers, current day hearers, with other words. Jennifer Silvis for $2 says, Newsom, York. If you don't know, or sorry, if you know, you know. I don't think I do know. But you know what? I don't have a follow-up. Sorry, that sentence got away from me. You know, sometimes I just start a sentence, and I hope that I'll figure out where it's going to go when I get there, and then I don't always actually get there. And, thanks, brain.
Happens to me too.
Yeah.
For instance,
Yes?
that was it. It got away
There
from
you
me.
go.
They say the water receded. Well, this word assuage means to drop down, or to sink down, to subside.
Yeah, that's what receded means too, Kent. What are you taught? I'm going to take a drink. How dare they use a different synonym?
This is the word used when someone's anger is assuaged.
Yeah, again, it drops down. That's the metaphor that's going on there, Kent. When you assuage someone's anger, you know how anger is something that's said to rise up? You know? Also, sometimes in the Bible it says God arose, like his temper or his anger was aroused. It goes up. Therefore, when your anger goes away, it drops down. It's the same damn metaphor. Oh. Has he ever thought more than 10 seconds about anything in his entire damn life?
It's
Jeez.
possible, but I doubt it.
I am currently squeezing my sinuses to try to prevent the sinus headache I can feel coming on from this dumbassery. Oh, okay, we have a few things. Farstar Tat for $5 says, how do you know, Kent? Have you been to both Moscow, Idaho and Moscow, Russia? I don't think so. And you can't know if you didn't see / it's not biblical. That's a good point. How does he know? Jennifer Silvis for $5 says, Gavin Newsom's press secretary is trolling Trump. That's one of the trolls. Yeah, you know what? I don't know who it is that's running Gavin Newsom's social media. But I like that person far more than I like Gavin Newsom himself. So let's get his social media manager to run for president. Because I don't really want to vote for Gavin Newsom, but I do want to vote for whoever the heck is sending out his tweets. Because it's definitely not him.
It drops down. It doesn't move away, it just drops down. It's very different.
How? What? Ben, do you know how it's different? Because I can't figure out how it's different.
It's not different. He's
Okay.
just being dumb.
Naramda puts for $2 says, read. Too hard is this. Who are you, Yoda? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic for $5 says, Ken has definitely thought about himself for more than 10 seconds. That's a good point. Yeah, he has definitely thought about himself because he is... Now, this is not a diagnosis. I'm not a medical professional of any kind. But he appears, to me, in my non-professional opinion, to have all the hallmarks of a narcissistic personality disorder. I would be shocked if he were to be actually examined by a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, and they did not find that he was a classic textbook case of a narcissistic personality. Like, you know, the whole cluster B personality disorders. Of course, one of the problems with cluster B personality disorders is that they're extremely unlikely to seek treatment, because part of having a cluster B personality disorder is feeling like you're perfect, therefore why would you need a treatment? So, yeah. Oh, and for $2, Naram put says, Yoda would be hard to read this is. That's a good point. Yeah. All right, well, it wasn't Yoda then. Crazy Yoda. All right, where are we? We are 3 super chats away, and we are way past the halfway point to getting Ben free pizza, so it could happen. And we're about 25% of the way to Dapper Gets High. So
That's
Ben,
the real goal.
that's the real goal, but also you might have to wear a tutu next week.
Okay, I can do that.
The water assuaged, meaning the water just began to drop down.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect what happened is parts of the crust of the earth sank down, sucking the water into the low place. Other places would lift up.
What in the world would possibly give you that impression, Kent?
Imagination.
Yeah, basically. There's nothing in the text about that. Jennifer Silvas for $5 says, agreed on press secretary 100% Klingon. I don't know what the Klingon in parentheses is doing there. Oh, it's for the Klingon. Right, got it. Also, I think it said Moscow, Idaho, instead of Moscow. I don't know. I've never been to either Moscow or Moscow, Idaho. But you may well be right. And I'm assuming that I'm interpreting your macron over the O correctly. Everybody, go learn the International Phonetic Alphabet. That way I don't have to interpret macrons. Everybody. Maybe the 200% goal from now on after today will be I do a tutorial about the International Phonetic Alphabet. So everyone.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. It's really cool. I really like the International Phonetic Alphabet.
Forming mountain ranges. If you look at Genesis chapter 8, verse 2, it says, the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated.
Okay.
There are several different stages to the flood. The 40 days of rain, 150 days.
For $2, he said, Matt Practitioner of License Plate Magic says, he's a world expert on sucking. Well, based on what I suspect with good evidence about his relationship with Steve Lynn, the former tech guy, I think he might be right about that.
Days of the water having dominion or power over the earth, and then 150 days of going down. That's 5 months. So parts of the earth's crust were probably exposed off and on during this year-long flood. Noah.
Really, because the Bible actually just says that the floodwaters were several cubits above the tallest mountain. It doesn't say anything about the waters going up and down all over the place and the mountains becoming covered and uncovered. So for a literalist, Kent, you're definitely taking a lot of stuff in the Bible non-literally.
Whoops.
Weird.
Was in the ark for a year. The flood didn't necessarily last a year, but Noah stayed in the ark for 1 year. He got in 7 days before it started, and about 13 months total he was actually in the ark. So probably sections of the earth's crust were not inundated, not underwater the whole time. The crust would be bouncing around, floating up and down.
Why? What mechanism is causing that, Kent? What is physically doing the bouncing of the crust? You know, rocks don't just move for no reason. There has to be a force applied. What is the force that's causing the bouncing of the crust on a timescale of less than a year? Lieutenant Matt, Practitioner of License Plate Magic for $2 says, Earth bottomed for the waters? Yes, it did. Yep, it did in fact bottom for the waters. The waters are in fact top. That is how it works. And for $5, taking us only one super chat away from Bent needing to read some Klingon, says, I thought Macron wasn't in charge of... Damn it. I thought Macron wasn't in charge of France anymore. First, it's Macron, if you're doing the French. Macron, not Macron. But, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And let's update here. All right. And let's see, only one more to go, and then we make Bent do some Klingon, which will be after we come back from a quick break. So, there you go.
Sometimes you might even get a section that would come up and totally dry out for a few months, and maybe even get wind-blown sandstone formed.
Oh, that's why he's doing it. So he can explain wind-deposited sandstone in the Earth's geological column. Because obviously it can't form under a flood. So what if it just wasn't flooded there, at that part of Earth during the worldwide flood. Guys, we have to be literal about how worldwide the flood is. So it wasn't totally worldwide, though, because we can't use that either. It's amazing. Oh my god. I didn't think it was going to be that obvious. Okay, I'm going to drink this drink. We're going to read the next 2 super chats. Then we're going to go on break. Oh, that's threatening to break me. All right, so there's that drink. Pillow Point for $5 says, I'm doing my part. You sure are. And then, oh, what happened to my drink counter? Blender crashed? What the heck? This is lame. I don't want Blender to crash. And this is your fault.
I'll take the blame.
Okay.
I don't care.
Here, at least a little bit.
It was all part of my plan. Ha ha ha.
Well, I'm restoring it. Didn't know Blender was going to randomly crash. Blender. So let me restore all of that. So we were at 20 there, and there we go. Pat Volcano Skeptic Clippo for 25 hours Loti says, fine, I'm not going to shower and clean the room. I'm going to learn IPA now, and then I can blame Dapper for not getting those things done. Absolutely, you can. Heather Shield Volcano fan Coon for $5 says, the name of Russia's capital is translated as Moskva. Moscow is how it's typically rendered in English. Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, Kent is speaking in English. And Moskva is... like, the KV consonant cluster doesn't play well with, like, English phonotactics. So, like, I don't blame him. Yeah, because, like, I'm a big fan of using endonyms when possible, but subject to the target language's phonotactics. Because, like, I don't think it's fair to ask people to, like, learn an entirely new pronunciation system just so they get the exact pronunciation of foreign places right. And I'm also going to double check the scaling here. Yeah, see, it does actually go out of bounds, so I have to fix that. All because Blender crashed. Thanks, Blender. All right, it probably crashed because I'm also rendering on Sheepit, so, you know. We are going to take a quick break. I'm going to get myself a new beer. Bent is going to get himself, I don't know, another drink, maybe? I don't know. I'm not in charge of Bent.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. But then we will be back, and we will be back with Bent reading some Klingon. So, yeah, you're gonna hear Bent struggle through. It's gonna be amazing. In the meantime, please enjoy a teaser trailer for this week's episode of Star Trek Adventures. And after that, the musical stylings of some guy named Bent Hovind, who is you, actually. That's you right there,
That is
Bent.
me. Yep.
All right. We'll be back in just a little bit.
Captain's log stardate 60389.3, according to ship's internal chronometers. We have followed Ash Tamalias into wherever we are now. Sensor readings are erratic. It does not appear that the Bellerophon has followed us. And we have yet to have further contact with any of the displaced Telekal. I have the ship on yellow alert, although it is not clear what dangers we may face here. Perhaps, more concerningly, there is no obvious way for us to return to normal space or to enter subspace. Further, we have damage to our computer core, weapon system, and hull, and artificial gravity is on the fritz. Commander Dulas is effecting repairs, but it is slow going under the current conditions. Petty Officer Billy is keeping an eye on the navigation system in case any way out of here opens up.
The Kongzi has entered an abstract realm of unreality. The distinction between ideas and objects is breaking down. They must escape this strange non-location before they themselves are absorbed into a state of non-being from which they cannot escape. Tune in next time for the season premiere of Season 2 of Star Trek Endurance, As Many as 6 Impossible Things, only on the Top Hats Off channel.
Okay, we are back. And let's see, do we have any new super chats? We do not. Thank you for sticking with me, those of you who did. Before we get right into the Bent reading Klingon, I'm going to go through my little bit of a commercial advertisement thing, I guess. And which is to say, first, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's been so generous already just today. We've got 20 new memberships. We are 60% of the way towards getting the fancy avatar. We're well more than 60% of the way to getting Bent free pizza, which, you know, one of the only times he ever eats. We get free pizza. So, and without the direct support of my viewers, this channel could not persist in the way it does now. I'm an extremely small channel, and yet it is because of the generosity of my viewers, which is, as far as I can tell, exceptional. I don't know of too many other channels of this size that can get this much support. I am able to keep doing this as a full-time thing, right? I spend, I was going to say 40, but it's usually more like 50 or 60 hours a week working on videos, researching things, animating, editing, all that stuff. And I couldn't do it without you. Now, if you are currently someone who is not supporting financially, but you are interested in doing so and can afford to, I want to make that very clear, do not give me money you need for something else, like food, shelter, clothing, that kind of thing. Those take precedence. Those take priority. But if after all that is done, you have a few dollars and you want to toss them my way, I would first encourage you to give to the Patreon. The Patreon is where I get to keep the most of the money. I am probably going to be trying to do a Patreon drive next month to try to get the Patreon up a little bit more. It is one of the ways that I can most easily budget because it is the most reliable in terms of I have a good idea how much I'm going to make month to month on that. So please consider that. It starts at only $1 a month. You can get a 15% discount if you pledge annually. It gives you early access to my scripted videos. Like, I think we're currently 6 months ahead on that. It gives you access to my Discord server, which is just for people who are supporting. If you go to the $10 or higher tier, there are some Blender files that you can find on my Patreon page that you can download and use for your own projects if you want to. There are also, and I believe starting at the $20 tier, I will start reading your name aloud. There are a bunch of tiers. Also, there's the channel memberships. I get slightly less from that, but also it's still a really good thing for me to get is that, you know, coming in each month as a regular thing. There's the same benefits. It starts at $1.99, but you still get the you still get early access, you still get access to the Discord server. You also get your name turning green, a cool little badge next to your name. You get channel emojis here in chat. So it's a fun time, and yeah, those are really helpful. Again, if you don't want to have any money transferring between you and me, that's fine. There are a number of other ways you can help out. Most prominently, you can render for me. There's the beer. There are instructions in the description. Just download the Sheepit client from the website and use my login credentials, which uses a render key, which is like a password that doesn't give you access to my account. It just means that when you log in with it, you count as me for the purposes of rendering. Liz D, who's been a member for 60 months, says, Dapper, look, I have another milestone chat, and AIG is still a bag of Ken Hovind's. Isn't that great? It is great. And I will take a drink for it. Thank you. Becca Justiniano says, I'm up to 285 frames on Sheepit. Nice. I am currently at 843 right now, over the past 5 hours and 7 minutes.
I'm at 98 over the past hour and 15 minutes.
Nice. All right. So, with all that being said, oh, there's also merch. You can buy merch. I get virtually no money from it, but I really, really, really like it when people send me pictures of Dapper Dinosaur merch that they bought. So, I don't know. Do that. Also, I have a wish list, so does Ben. They're linked in the description. You can get us some stuff. The other time that Ben sometimes eats is when people get him things from his wish list. So, yeah. All right, Ben.
It's true. Yeah.
I would like you to tell us, so we know you're reading from Hamlet, but what specifically are you reading?
It's a line by Gertrude. It's on page 121.
Okay, but give us, like, act what, scene what?
Let me check for you.
Right. Because most editions of Hamlet don't have the same page numbers as the Klingon Hamlet.
It's
Okay, I
Act
know.
4, Scene 1,
Okay.
and it's about 2 pages in. And I just picked a paragraph at random. So, Va, Shush, Vich A, Jet Da, Chach Vo, Hoshwit Na,
Okay.
You
So
Mech. What?
you're forgetting a lot of the apostrophes.
I think I'm saying them.
No, you said bit it's bit
Vich A.
There you go.
Okay. Groj, Goch, Shoch, Dit, Mau, Ku, Gach, Chut, Lob, Ha, Tach, Vish, Yab, Sab, Hash, Tau, Ij, Bing, Dach, Vich, Choch, Vai, E, Koi, Dit, Pi, Et, Daj, Lil, Pi, Jach, Choch, Q, Vich, Q, Edge, Shekvam, Nulku, Nata, Chiv, Vij, Groep, Gach, E, Wedge, Lechboch, Choch.
Would you like to hear me try to pronounce the same line from Gertrude?
Yes, go for it.
Va shush ik ajeda takbo oshwitna mukmech roch roch choch de malputach tu lob tachvish yab shab hashtawij bingdak vichchoch vai et choide pai et dajlel pai jachchoch Reu vich reu ed petchva murkut Nachtach vish kup krak et wedge lerbo hoch.
Yeah, you sounded better than I did. But that's okay.
What do you want to do the next one?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
All right. Well, everyone, I would like for you to put in the chat your grade for Bent's Klingon. Now that you've heard it from me, who has, I would say, largely good pronunciation, and from Bent, who actually I think does pretty well, but not as well. Also, Eric Wander has just joined the channel at the amulet level. Thank you so much, Eric Wander. I really appreciate it. Everybody send in some tetrapod emojis to welcome Eric Wander to the amulet level. And yeah, just put in like a letter grade, like A, B, C, D, or F, or how you
Or
think
F
Bent
plus.
or F plus. Yeah. Wow, Farstar Tad is giving you an A plus.
Wow.
I don't know that I would have given you an A plus, but I mean, hey.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Zerolon says better. Ben's great, better than I would have done. Travis Fisher is giving you an A. All right. Naramtaput says I
Nice.
have no complaints. Bent has the prosody of a language learner. Deborah has the prosody of a fluent but not native speaker. Thanks. B
Sounds
plus intro level, says Jennifer Silvas. That's probably where I would put you. And I'm definitely not fluent in Klingon. Although I'm closer than almost anyone else on Earth, except for like a small handful of people, almost all of whom I can name. Because I don't know if you know, but the population of Klingon speakers is not super big. Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic for $2 says, it's all Klingon to me. It sure is. Klingon is fun. We should all learn Klingon. Let me update that. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to hit play, and I'll see if we get more grades that come in. Becca Justiniano says, I give Bent an A. Joshua Geese says, I'd give Bent a solid B. Doran Dax gives one of those Cyrillic letters that I can't remember the name of because I can't remember the name of most of them. Because I learned how letters sound way faster than what they're called. So, yeah. I remember one time someone found me reading some Arabic. They're like, wait, can you read that? I was like, yeah. They were like, can you say the alphabet? I was like, nope. Why not? It's like, because I just never bothered to memorize the name of each letter and the order in which they're said for the alphabetic order. I don't know. It does make it hard to look things up if you don't remember the order, though. I did eventually roughly learn the order to make it easier to look things up in a dictionary. Sapphire Equatorial Pole Light. Now, interestingly, the poles could be in the tropics. That's a possibility. Who's been a member for 40 months. 40 months, my goodness. Is at the amniote level says, no one, not even one person, has ever disproved that the rapture will occur on April 20th, 2069. I'm 1 billion% confident of this. Prepare accordingly. You know, April 20th, 2069 would be a pretty good date for a rapture. So, yeah. That would be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
There's sand, when it blows and drifts like sand dunes, it makes layers. Sometimes there are petrified sand dunes inside layers of sedimentary rock.
Mm-hmm.
You have rock, and then sandstone, and then more rock.
This is exactly what I said it was going to be for. This is a confirmed prediction, but we're going to wait until he actually says it.
And the evolutionist says, see, this was above water. Yeah, sure was. You're right about that. Because this couldn't form underwater. Well, I disagree with that. There have been...
Yep. So, that was his reason for saying maybe things poked up, was to help him explain petrified sand dunes. I'll take a drink. Wow, Kent. Just ignore what the Bible says, I guess, when it's too inconvenient.
If you fly over the beach, you'll see, right down through the water, you can see the wave action makes all kinds of sedimentation in the water.
Yep. And that's one of the reasons why we had to be careful to see whether or not sandstone was formed above or below water. And one of the ways we do that is because the angle of repose of sand grains underwater and in air is different. So you might be wondering, hey Dapper, what's the angle of repose? Well, I will tell you. Okay, so have you ever used an hourglass bent?
Yes, I have.
Have you noticed that when you tip it over, the grains of sand form a little cone shape in the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you could measure the angle between horizontal and the slope of that cone, you would find that it's a characteristic angle. And pretty much every time you turn that the hourglass over, it would form about the same angle. That is because those grains naturally can support themselves at or below a certain angle. That angle is called the angle of repose. It's the natural angle at which a mound of this substance will sit at. And we have characterized this for different kinds of sand, different coarsenesses of sand, under different conditions, whether it be in the air or underwater or whatever. Which means if you can examine the coarseness of the sand, and you have done those experiments, you can tell whether or not a petrified dune was formed in the water or in the air. Star or Tad for $2 says, I have no idea what Kent's talking about. Success. Becca Gensiniano says, yay, we got bent to read Klingon, but let's not forget to get Dapper High on Saturday. Well, we are not even halfway there. We are only about 30% of the way there, so we would have to seriously accelerate. But you know what? It's an aspirational goal. It's there to shoot for, not necessarily to reach. Like perfection. It's a nice aspiration. You're probably not going to get there. Anyway, did you know, Bent, that geologists have checked the angles?
They have?
They have.
When did they find the time?
Technically it is their job, so I guess they just did it on work time. And it turns out, you might be shocked to know, that we have both underwater and on land sand dunes preserved in the rocks of the earth. Which, I know, I'm glad you're sitting down, because I'm sure you would have fallen over in shock had you not been
I almost
sitting
fell
down.
over anyways.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad that
Yeah.
your chair is nice and well supported.
Mm,
Wait,
me too.
isn't that my old chair that you're using?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
I was just remembering. I was like, wait a minute. I think he's using my old chair.
Out under the water. You know, a lot of sedimentation does form. So even during the flood, you may get an awful lot of underwater sedimentation of sand.
Yep, we do. But we also get a lot of under air, I guess, sedimentation, which we can check for. And yeah, my browser ran out of memory, something it only does in YouTube's studio. But we're gonna we're going to end the poll because we now have 88 votes, and with only 96 people watching, that means we basically have one vote for everyone who wants to vote. So, which is the better pejorative? Globehead wins with 43% of the vote. Turtle comes in second with 32%, and Globey only 25%. All right, well, hey, flat earthers out there, my audience, which is among both the most supportive and most intelligent and most creative audiences I've ever encountered on YouTube, are telling you to start using, or to keep using Globehead and get rid of Globey. Globehead is better. Let's see. Pat Volcano Skeptic Clippo for 25 Loki says, damn, you guys, if I don't get... Oh, okay, there we go. Damn, you guys, if I don't get to get high with Dapper, shape up. Well, I mean, you're contributing, so you are part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I gotta say, if everyone here gave, I think, $5, pretty sure we would get there. That would be, yeah, so that would be like $500. Pretty sure that would get us there or close. So, you know.
It will then pack and dry out. When it lifts up, it'll become above water level and turn to like a petrified sand dune, sort of. But after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. I have highlighted here the words returned from off the earth continue.
Oh, wait, there's another poll I want to have. All right, we gotta, this is the new poll. What's the better Hovind spelling mistake? We're not going to say typo. It wasn't a typo. So we're going to have a thought with T-H-O-T or that's waged. Let me know what you guys think is the better Kent Hovind spelling mistake, because both thought and as waged are awesome. I love them. Similar, but not the same reasons.
Simulate. This is the Hebrew words halak vashab, which means going and returning.
I mean, it looks like it says halak vashub, but I mean, what's a vowel quality between friends? Am I right?
I'm sure he's trying his best.
Also, you know, we could look it up. We have the power of the internet. Let's find out. 8, and then I'm going to type in Hebrew. So let's see. And this was 8, 2 through 3. The waters return from the earth continually, probably in the continually section. He says it's halak. Vash. Okay, now I need to double check my vowel points in Hebrew, because I don't remember all of them. But I did find the section he's talking about. Yeah, it's an O sound, so he's definitely wrong here. So it's, so this is in verse 2 of chapter 8. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I missing things? Oh, okay. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th word? Nope, that's not it. I just had it. Am I going crazy?
I think so.
Oh yeah, I'm on verse 2. That's why I'm missing it, because I was reading the wrong verse. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 5th word in is halok vashob. Well, actually, it's vashov. So it's more like halok vashov. So like, thanks for getting that right, Kent. I don't know. Is that a Trojan source? I want a drink, so I guess it is.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I don't know. First, few things. Don't take your Hebrew lessons from me, because I just had to double check which vowel point was in there. But second, even less should you take Hebrew lessons from Kent Hovind. Yeah, as far as Star Taz says, it counts as a Trojan source. All right, well, we drank for it, so I'm glad that you're on my side on that one.
This gives the indication the water was leaving and then coming back, and then leaving and coming back, sloshing back and forth.
Does it give that impression? I'm actually not very confident. Let's see if we can actually see more about that. So let's see. So we're in 8.1. We want 8.3. 8.2, 8.3. Okay. Alok Vasho. Okay, so Alok. Let's see. So halok basically means continually, going continually. So it occurs in a bunch of other verses where it's usually translated as something continued, or they continued to go, or they went on continually. And then, let's see. And the other one was shob. So that just means they're to and fro, returned. I'm actually not sure. I would probably have to find this in an actually good lexicon. So let's see if we can get a Shove translation in a lexicon that's worth a damn. Which I guess I could go to my room and grab mine, but like whatever. Oh, okay. So it is a verb that means to return or turn back, or sometimes it can mean to do something again. It depends on the context. So that's a different word, Wiktionary. That's not with the same. That's not a sheen. That's like the sonic thing. Anyway, let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and say that based on my very limited Hebrew, that going back and forth is absolutely not a required reading, but it's not completely implausible. This is why Vishanti should be here. But also, speaking of Hebrew, she's getting ready for Yom Kippur, which is starting tomorrow night, in case you didn't know. So, she's a little on the busy side, so I guess I'll allow it this time. But when it's not the high holy days anymore, Vishanti, get in here in case we need some Hebrew support. Also, where's Kip Davis? He's not celebrating Yom Kippur. He's not Jewish. Kip, what are you doing to me? All right, let's see. We got a couple things here. Pat Volcano Skeptic Clippo 425 Polish Loti says, you can't hide from the truth for a little of green episode. Sorry, for a title of the green episode. Oh, you can't hide from the truth. I get it, for the title of the green episode. Well, it's going to be on Saturday, so it's going to be not with Kent. It's going to be Brian Thomas. We're going to be talking about. Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic for $5, says, to be fair, ass wage does bring to mind some in and out action. You know, you do have a point there. Yeah, got a point.
If we filled this building full of water 4 feet deep, and we picked up one end of the building, the water would slosh down to one end,
Mm-hmm.
but it wouldn't stay there. It would slosh back and go down and come back and go down.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, Kent. When it's combined with halok, it seems to me, based on my rudimentary but far better than your knowledge of Hebrew, that since that means continuously, and the shov bit doesn't necessarily mean back and forth, it just means to return in some context, that it's actually saying it was continually returning. In other words, it was continuing to go down constantly. That seems like the better interpretation to me. And since I don't have anyone who knows Hebrew even better than me handy, unless one of you does in the audience, I am going to press X to doubt on your interpretation there, Kent. I don't know. What do you think, Bent?
I will agree with you.
Thanks. Is it just because you think I'm smarter than Kent Hovind and you can't actually assess the claim?
It's possible.
Okay.
It may have been distracted.
How dare you?
I know, right?
These are the people who are trying to get you free pizza, and you turn your attention away from them.
No, I'm paying attention to chat.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Yeah. Of course.
And depending on numerous different features, the surface of the earth, you know, what's going on underneath, the shapes of it, how much water, et cetera, what mountains are in the way. Depending on many different features, the water would slosh around for a long time, maybe weeks or months.
I mean, I've been to the beach. I kind of feel like it's still sloshing around at least a little bit. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it's not because the Earth's crust is, and I quote, bouncing.
And there may be, during this time, the last part of a year-long flood, I suspect, is when the mountains were formed. Excuse me. If you have mountains lifting up and valleys sinking down, you would have Earth's crust movement, which may cause earthquakes, causing further tsunamis and tidal waves going back and forth. But sedimentary rock is always laid down horizontally.
It's so there's the principle of initial horizontality, which goes all the way back to Steno, who is basically the father of geology. And the principle of horizontal geology says that in an undisturbed bedding of an undisturbed sedimentary bedding is initially laid down horizontally. But it's the principle of initial horizontality for a reason and not the law of initial horizontality. And that's because there are known exceptions, right? So slow-moving rivers can cause vertical sediment deposition in small instances. Continental shelves can have sub-horizontal, so like angled, diagonal, basically, deposition, which you might know if you've ever been to a beach. Bent, have you been to a beach?
I've been to more than one beach.
Were any of them at the ocean?
Yes.
Did the ground slope down towards the water and then into the water?
I think so.
Yeah. So that sedimentation was probably not completely horizontal, right?
Right.
Yeah. So there are exceptions. Now, they're generally not very long-lived, and they are exceptional, and we do know how to recognize them. So it's broadly true that sedimentation happens horizontally, but it's not always true. It's almost like geologists have this thing like the ability to recognize nuance, and like they don't just assume that everything follows very simplistic ideas. Huh. Weird. Imagine geologists actually thinking about things. Carnival Frog comes in with 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you so much. That brings us all the way to 74%. Let's take 10 drinks. Well, I'm going to take 10 drinks. Bent is going to read at least one more line in Klingon, I think.
All right. Hesh a edge jich vad kastje. Jishach shuch nech dach hoch nubuch tach slabdaj shoch jich je hoch je buchij rach baka. I think that's pretty good.
Nice. That was pretty good. It sounded good. I wasn't following along, so I'm not sure.
I definitely could use new glasses.
Well,
because yeah, some of those words were a little blurry.
Maybe you should price out some new glasses, and then we can have a funding stream for new glasses. Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Chick Magnate, who's been a member for 5 months, and is at the Tetrapod level, says, "Why are SCs so petty about wording? Trying to do a joke." SCs, South Carolinians, all Klingon episode when. So hold on. Let me check my calendar. Let's see. No, maybe I'm still checking my calendar. Let's see. How about the first Kent with Bent in April of 2031? How about that?
That could be doable.
Okay. We'll see. We'll try. You're gonna have to really work on your Klingon between now and then, though.
Yeah, I would.
But we've got 5-ish years, well, 4.5-ish years. You've got plenty of time.
I'm gonna put it off for like a year.
Well, but in 4.5 years, you could become basically fluent in Klingon. Make that your full-time job. Spend 8 hours a day practicing Klingon.
Yeah. Yeah, if people sign up for my Patreon and send me a bunch of money, I will learn Klingon.
Okay. We can make your Patreon just a vlog of you learning Klingon. Zerlon says, your chat will remember that, right? Well, I didn't say that it was definitely going to happen. I said that might be a good day for it. But yes, I do know that they will remember that for the next, 5 years.
As in, with the horizon flat. Sedimentary rock can be laid down flat.
Oh no, he's saying horizontal and flat are the same thing. Everybody, he's going full flurf. Take a drink. Kent's about to say that the Earth is flat. Is he about to say that water finds its own level, therefore the Earth is flat?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me too much. Although he does have a globe, because he is a globe head, as we all know.
And then as the mountains lifted up, the water would rush off. This gives it energy. The water then is going to race back and forth. The waves are going to...
Also, it doesn't give it energy, Kent. It's the position that has stored energy there. It's, gravitational potential energy. But why would I expect that Kent will get basic energy dynamics? We're going to end this poll, by the way, as to which of the spelling mistakes is the better Hovind spelling mistake. We've got Ass Wage, which won with 68% of the vote. Thought only got 32%. Oh, there is Mothra. We'll take a drink for Mothra. Thanks for stopping by, Mothra. Chick Magnate says, disappointed every time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't always get all the jokes. I'm just not a very funny person. Or dinosaur, or whatever. Can dinosaurs be people? What's the rules there?
That is a tough question. Maybe.
Can Klingons be people?
Maybe.
Is it murder to randomly kill a Klingon? For no reason?
Probably.
Then I'm going to say that Klingons can be people.
That's
and therefore,
fair.
you don't have to be a human to be a person. And therefore, dinosaurs, at least hypothetically, could be people. Wait, there are dinosaurs in Star Trek. Would it be murder to randomly kill a Voth for no reason?
Most likely.
Well, then dinosaurs can be people because the Voth are dinosaurs from Star Trek Voyager.
That's true.
So, take that.
going to bounce back and forth across the oceans as soon as they run into something. And that would depend on so many factors, the size of the ocean, the distance traveled, the depth of the water, how much energy is put into it. But those waves going back and forth are going to wash off the sediment layers.
Well, then how come we have so many sediment layers, Kent? Most of the surface of the land of the Earth is covered in sedimentary rock. Where did it come from if the flood scoured all of it off of the surface, Kent?
And expose them.
Jillian is being very generous with saying, to me, anyone with sentience and sapience counts as a person. I would say there are exceptions, or at least hypothetical exceptions. For instance, I don't think you would have to grant personhood to the sentient and sapient vampires from 30 Days of Night. I don't think you would have to treat them as people. But I don't know. I am not a philosopher. Except, I guess, in the way that everyone is a philosopher. Because to some degree, everyone's a philosopher. Because everyone has a philosophy. The power of nuh-uh for 200 Argentinian pesos says, in my experience with quails, chickens, and rheas, I'll say dinos can't be people. They don't have souls. Well, okay, but that's only like 3 specific species. Also, what did the quails do to you? I want to know about the quails. I feel like there's a story there.
Already at twisted angles and deposit new layers on top.
How do you deposit new layers on top if it's running off of the continents, Kent? What? Take another drink. I hate this so much. It's going to scour the continents completely, and then what? Rise up again to be over the tops of the mountains so that it can deposit new sediment on top of it? No, Kent, that doesn't make any sense. If the overall trajectory is that the water's going down, then the overall net effect is going to be to erode away the sediment, not to deposit on net.
Now this, in geology, is called an unconformity, a place where...
No, Kent, that's not what an unconformity is. It's not what you're showing. You're showing folded layers that may or may not have a nonconformity. A nonconformity is an area where there is a gap in the continuous record of deposition, usually from erosion, which you are talking about that, but it's not what you're showing. What you're showing is just folded layers, which is not an unconformity. Now, you can have folded layers with an unconformity in them, but just an illustration of folding layers isn't illustrating what an unconformity is. Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic for $2, says maybe sediment was ferromagnetic during the flood. Yeah, maybe. I mean, we're breaking all sorts of laws of physics already. Why not? Just make up new laws of physics.
Where the layers are crossing each other, but they obviously weren't laid down that way.
That is also not... That is an example of an unconformity, but it is not the definition of an unconformity. An unconformity can happen between two horizontal and unfolded layers. In fact, it happens in many places on Earth. The unconformity is just that gap in the record of continuous sedimentation.
Grand Canyon has a huge unconformity down at the bottom. This is a schematic of Grand Canyon, calling the angular.
Hey, Ben, you want to guess why it's called an angular unconformity? Oh, take a drink from Mothra.
Because of the angles?
Mm-hmm. Now, do you suppose that there might be a different kind of unconformity that isn't angular?
I suppose that's possible.
Which might go a long way to explaining why they bothered to put in the word angular here, as opposed to just unconformity, because if they were all angular, why would you say it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You would be redundant.
Mm-hmm.
Unconformity where the layers were washed off and then new layers deposited on top, including lava flows.
Actually, they weren't washed off. You know how we know? Glacial moraines. They were scraped off by glaciers. Because not only do we have terminal and lateral moraines preserved at the Great Unconformity all over the world, but we also have glacial drop stones. Stones carried in by glaciers from far away and deposited here that are basically alien to the local rocks. All over the Great Unconformity. The Great Unconformity was not caused by liquid water. It was caused by ice. So we'll take a drink for Kent not knowing the difference between a flood and a glacier. Sean, the 21st century viewer of this channel who's been a member for 28 months and is at the amniote level, says, but have you considered magic with a Mothra? And no, I had not considered magic because I don't know how to test for magic. If anyone gives me a way to test for magic, I will consider magic.
Letter H there is a lava flow. Well, anytime you get the crust of the Earth being broken up and shifting around, you're going to have volcanoes going off. So,
no, Kent, you yourself were talking about earthquakes. Earthquakes don't have to have a volcano associated with them. I was in Massachusetts when I had an earthquake happen to me while I was in the middle of watching a horror movie. It was really weird timing. You know what Massachusetts doesn't have any of?
Volcanoes?
Volcanoes. How did you know?
How could I know? Lucky guess.
Probably during the flood there was volcanic action. After the flood there was volcanic action. There's still volcanic action today.
Well, it is true that there's still volcanic action today, everybody. Take a drink. Just ask Landon about it if you don't know. Which, by the way, he has a volcano show over on Chesh's channel, Debate Hub. It's with Manya, and Chesh and Manya and Landon talk about volcanoes. So if you like volcanoes, go check that out. One of my mods wants to, you can put a link to Chesh's channel. But not the Cheshire Vic channel. The actual Debate Hub channel.
The lava would be flowing during this whole time from different areas. There could be a volcano erupting right now, but it doesn't affect us over here. It doesn't.
There is a volcano erupting right now, Kent. I don't mean just now when we're recording this. I mean when you were saying that. There's almost never a time when no volcanoes are erupting on Earth. That basically just doesn't happen.
I mean, the whole world was that way. There were patches of turmoil and patches of tranquility. So Underwater lava, when it comes up, it forms, it's very distinctive from lava above water. It's called pillow lava.
So that's going to depend on the viscosity of the lava as it's coming up, because this is not a type of rock. It is a characteristic shape that the rock takes underwater, pillow lava, which is generally, if I remember correctly, from basaltic lava. Rhyolitic lava, I don't think forms pillow lava that I'm aware of. But yeah, it's going to depend on the viscosity. But whatever, it doesn't matter.
If you ever see it, a volcano erupting under the ocean or something, it forms very distinctive layers, like pillows. They call it pillow lava.
Yep, it's because it comes out in little globs that are roughly pillow-shaped. And it's because the water is such a better cooling medium than the air that the basaltic lava cools down almost immediately and solidifies.
And Mount Ararat, for instance, is pillow lava. Mount Ararat formed
I cannot confirm or deny this. I have no clue.
underwater. Well, today it's 17,000 feet above water. So something was different.
Yeah, the Earth has changed. It's like, the thing is, Kent's not wrong that something was different, but this is still the part of his life where he's denying plate tectonics as like an engine for moving continents around. So I guess that's why he's talking about all this like bouncing. But yeah, it's not a surprise to anyone really that the elevation of certain areas on Earth has changed over time. Let's see. Little globs the size of large globs? Yes. Deborah Dinosaur says there's a large basalt inclusion in central Massachusetts, which they call Western for reasons. Yeah, I know the reasons. It's because like Boston is like basically the center of Massachusetts. So it had volcanoes. Yeah, I'm sure it had volcanoes. Basically everywhere east of the Appalachian mountain chain had volcanoes. Have many more.
Here we show another schematic of the different rock layers.
And I'm not sure that we're going to get to free pizza.
Ooh.
We only have 15 minutes left. I think it's at 86%. I'll double check. Let's find out. Yeah. We're 11% of the way there. Or we still need 11 percentage points is really what I should be saying.
Oh, well.
You're just going to have to go hungry.
Maybe I can eat next week.
Maybe.
In Grand Canyon. And of course they've got them all named. The very top one is called Kaibab. The top of the canyon is called the Kaibab Uplift. Did you guys stop and see Grand Canyon on the way?
Hey, remember that time that Kent was baffled as to how parts of the canyon could be higher than other parts where the canyon starts? And I kept pointing out that it was about uplift. So he knows that. That's fun. Yeah. That's fun.
Way here? Yeah. That's, yep. That's a big hole in the ground, isn't it? Yeah. Very impressive. Genesis chapter 8, verse 4. It says, the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. Very interesting. If the ark rested in the 7th month, why didn't Noah get out until the 13th month?
I don't care, Kent. Because the bird hadn't told him to, I guess.
Why on earth would he stay in there for 6 more months? Probably several reasons why he would not want to get out.
All right, Bent, what's your prediction for how many of these reasons are actually something we can find in the Bible?
Probably need none of that.
Yeah, that's also my prediction.
Right away. If the ark hit bottom in the 7th month, it doesn't mean, the ark's probably stuck and can't move now, but the waves are still going back and forth across the ocean, and it's not safe to get out. There may still be further movement.
Then why would he send out a bird, Kent? If he's still currently in the water, why would a bird go out and find land that he could go to? Renee Reborn for $10 says, towards the pizza. Thank you very much. It is appreciated. Bent, you might not have to go hungry.
Wouldn't that be something?
It would be. Tyrion Words of a King 7 times Purified Rana says, methane poisoning? Yeah, that would actually be one of the big dangers of the Ark. There is absolutely not enough ventilation if you take the text of about the construction of the Ark literally.
Ron Wyatt thinks that Noah's Ark hit bottom
I'm drinking for Ron Wyatt mentioned. That man has never found anything that he has ever presented any evidence for in his entire life, which is now over, which means he never did it. He claimed to have found the living, still dripping blood of Christ under Temple Mount or something, dripping onto like the lost Ark of the Covenant, and he said he had it tested for its chromosomal karyotype. Bet, how many of his laboratory results do you think he released?
None.
Yeah, none. Also, when he went digging around in the Garden Tomb, and he claimed to have found all these cool biblical artifacts, you know what the Garden Tomb Association, the ones who were caretakers of that property, say he found?
Nothing?
They say he found nothing, and they kicked him off the property so he wouldn't further damage it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. This man found chariot wheels in the Red Sea. You know what they actually were?
What were they?
A combination of a shipwreck and coral.
Hmm.
Yeah. Ron Wyatt was a fraudster. You can tell because he never actually provided any evidence beyond his own testimony or the testimony of his buddies and grainy photos that don't prove a damn thing. There's a reason no one has come in behind him to confirm his quote-unquote archaeology. It's because it was all fake. Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic for $5, says, wait, the Ark is grounded and being pounded by the sea in a manner that is fatal to wooden hulls, and they think it's safer to stay on? Yeah, I guess. I'm not going to try to figure out the logic. The power of nuh-uh for 100 Argentinian pesos says, Ron Wyatt found every single relevant religious artifact out there and lost all of them before even taking a photo. Sorry. Making him both the best and worst archaeologist ever simultaneously. Yeah, basically. Yep. And I pointed this out to people before who were Ron Wyatt fans. I'm like, why is there none of this evidence? He says that, the photos are coming. I'm sorry. The photos are coming. The site maps are coming. The test results are coming. And he's been saying, at the time he was still alive, and he's been saying it for decades. At some point, you gotta tell him, like, dude, put up or shut up, man. And of course, he did shut up, but only because he died.
They cut the anchor stones loose.
Hey, Bent, where are the anchor stones mentioned in the Bible?
Nowhere I can remember.
That's right, it's nowhere.
Hmm.
It's another thing Kent Hovind and his buddies invented.
Sometime later, a few weeks later, maybe a month later, because this was only the 7th month, and it wasn't until the 13th month that they got out. One of these waves could have lifted the Ark up and moved it 10 miles and set it down somewhere else. Some of the anchor stones are found quite a ways away from the Ark's location.
The anchor stones he's talking about were monuments erected centuries ago by Christians. They have Christian iconography and art in them. There is no evidence that they are anchor stones in any way. They were probably put there by either parishioners going to some church along the way or by monks. There is no evidence that any of the stones that Ron Wyatt says were anchor stones were in fact anchor. In fact, his only evidence for this was that some of them had a hole bored through the top of them, which he said would be a place where you could put a rope. Which, like, okay, great. That's not really sufficient evidence to say this was an anchor stone from Noah. Because you know what? A lot of rocks have holes bored in them by humans. You know what most of them have in common? Definitely not anchor stones for the Ark. Power of nuh-uh for 200 Argentinian pesos says, didn't Ron Wyatt claim he found Jesus' blood and he only had 24 chromosomes? The ones from his mother plus a mysterious extra Y? Because Jesus may be an unviable blob of deformed biomass, but he will not be trans. Yeah, basically he did say that. Yep. Star Tad for $2 says, dying shuts you up unless you're Jesus or Tupac. Yeah, Tupac was just like such a huge back catalog. Yeah. I mean, hey, good for him for having such a huge back catalog. He has a bigger back catalog than I do.
if that is Noah's Ark down in the valley.
Yeah, big if, Kent. It's not. In fact, it's just a rock.
And again, some other creationist groups get mad at me for even mentioning that there might be another alternative besides the one they're promoting and raising funding for. Genesis chapter 8, verse 5 says, the waters decreased continually. I think during this time from the...
Ooh, let's find out what that actually says in the Hebrew. I wonder if it's the same set of words here. So that was 8:5, huh? So remember, we're looking at halok bashov. So 8:5. Halok bahash. Oh, sorry. Asor. Okay, so no, it was a different verb. But we do still get the halok. So we get steadily decreasing, continuously decreasing, going down steadily, something like that. Which means that, once again, our halok there really does indicate that there's a continual action. And so I'm increasingly confident that the whole going back and forth thing is not a reasonable interpretation. And until I hear from someone who's a much better Hebraist than I am, in that someone who can reasonably call themselves a Hebraist comes in, tell me otherwise, yeah, I don't think Kent is getting this right. Yeah, Vishanti, of course I need help. We're doing Hebrew. When do I ever not need help on Hebrew, Vishanti? You know that I get excited if I can read 2 words in a row in Hebrew without help. You need help. Of course we do. Jeez. John Algood for $10 says, I love/hate digging into all the hoaxes and lies done for the sake of young earth creationism. Christians love sinning for Jesus. It does seem to be a theme with at least certain branches or movements within Christianity to just ignore things that would otherwise they would consider sins for the sole reason that it's convenient for their theology. All right, here we go. We are almost done. We're only 4% of the way away, but or is it 6% of the way? I think it's 6% of the way away. I don't know. It's close.
7th month
coming down to the
until the 13th month when they actually opened the door and got out. During this time, it is best to stay in the ark. The tidal waves outside made it not safe to get out. Secondly, there's nothing to eat out there.
Hey, Ben, were there tidal waves mentioned?
I don't think so.
Okay. Now, I will say that there's nothing that to eat out there is actually not a bad option, right? Because remember, the dove that finally brings back the indication that they can leave is bringing back an olive branch, and olives are food. So I actually think that Kent managed to get one thing that we could reasonably infer from the text. So, better than we thought he would, but not great.
Now, during this, after 7 months, many of the seeds that had been floating around would certainly germinate when they landed again.
That depends. Not all seeds can survive being waterlogged. In fact, almost all of them can't. So virtually no plants would ever grow again anywhere. Plus, you just salted the entire earth. So even for those seeds that can survive being waterlogged, which again is almost none of them, very few of them are actually going to be able to grow anyway. For 100 Argentinian pesos, the power of Nuh-uh says, Daps, you can always use Klingon and pretend it's Hebrew. It always works. Well, it did not work for, what was it? Not Seinfeld. What am I thinking of, Bent?
I'm not sure. I don't know what you're thinking.
Frasier. It didn't work for Frasier at his son's bar mitzvah when he got up and gave a speech in Klingon, and it was supposed to be in Hebrew. And yeah, but if I remember correctly, it was quite moving if you could understand the Klingon. So, although the rabbi did call it gobbledygook. So, you know, hey, I don't know, maybe double check your Hebrew speech for your son's bar mitzvah with more than one person if you're going to get up in public and try to give a speech in a language you don't know. I don't know. It's a pro tip.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
An awful lot of log mats would be floating around, depositing seeds and debris. And see, trees and many plants can grow several different ways. They can grow from seeds, of course. They can grow from cuttings. Some trees or bushes, you cut a branch off, stick it in the ground, and it grows. Mm-hmm. Others grow from roots. Take a drink. You know, the root sends out, and they call it a runner, sends up another tree growing off this root. So in addition to that, you have the animals and all the food on board that Noah brought.
Vishanti is going for the root halach means to walk or to depart, and plus, I don't know what XSR is supposed to be, but it says lack subtraction. So it would read continual absent. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm still going to go with that means that I am far closer to right than Kent was. Where's my mouse? Oh, there it is. My vision is based on movement only when it comes to the mouse on my screen. Other times I can notice things that aren't moving, but when it comes to the mouse, I need it to be moving.
For the animals to eat, they're going to continue as they take off out of the ark. You know, many animals deposit seeds as they travel.
You know what? Maybe the animal poop would actually be able to get some seeds out there. That's at least somewhat plausible. The waterlogged seeds are almost certainly not going to work. But, hey. So it's using walk in this way means sustained action, says Vishanti. So it's sustained retreating or going away. Yeah, that's what I had said about 8.3. So, good to know that my rudimentary ability to check on Hebrew worked out. Because has it ever happened that Kent quoted a source that was originally in a different language and then I wasn't able to reasonably check up on that? Has that ever happened once?
I'm not sure.
I
Maybe.
don't think it has, because I've checked up on him in Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and Old English, at least. Thanks for always using languages I can check on, Kent. I appreciate it. Next time he's going to do something horrible like Syriac or something, and I'm just like, well, I don't know, guys. I don't read Syriac. Sorry. But okay, we are now at the point where we're going to start wrapping things up here. Unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to quite make it to Bent Gets Free Pizza. But, hey, that's okay. Bent doesn't actually need calories. He can curl up on the couch and stay very, very still for months at a time. So,
Very true.
yeah. All right, so, Bent, do you have anything coming up that you want people to know about?
No, but I wanted to say thank you to Joshua Geese for buying me some items off of my Amazon wish list. And also, I got another item, but there was no name attached. So I'm going to say thank you to Anonymous.
Well, thank you, Anonymous. Let's see. What is coming up here? So, on Thursday, we have Just Ignore Physics, which is the third part of the 4-part Dan Biddle series coming out. That is going to be Thursday, October 2nd at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. I understand if you have Yom Kippur services to go to instead, I will not hold it against you. Unless, of course, you would only ever go to Yom Kippur services in order to avoid my stream, in which case then I will hold it against you, because that's a weird reason to go to Yom Kippur services. Yeah. Especially since in some cases you need tickets. Lieutenant Matt, practitioner of license plate magic, for $2 says, sometimes he cites things in proto-bullshit. Oh, that's true. That's very true. The power of Nuh-uh for 200 Argentinian pesos says, has Kent ever pulled a source in a language I couldn't check? Voinich's source Kent has been hiding. Oh man, Voinich's, that would be an interesting source for him to cite. I would question how it is that he's able to cite anything in Voinich's, since there's only one text in Voinich's and no one knows what the heck it says. I personally don't think it says anything. But, I mean, look, I'm not a Voinich's expert. What about you, Bent? Have you ever studied Voinich's?
No, I never heard of it before.
It's probably not even a real language.
Okay.
Although, hey, fun fact, in the continuity of 40K, the Voynich manuscript had been translated by the 31st millennium. In fact, if I remember correctly, it was a widely read text by the Thousand Sons Legion, of Space Marine. The Gene Sons of Magnus the Red of Prospero. So, nerd stuff. Okay. So that was Thursday. Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be doing, over on Top Hats Off, Star Trek Endurance, the Season 2 premiere. We are going to conclude the cliffhanger that we ended at the end of Season 2, or 1. So if you don't remember how Season 1 ended, I would suggest that you go back and double check the season finale, because this one follows on like minutes after the season 1 finale. So check that out. Then on Saturday, I will be back, hopefully with both Vish and Dr. Kip, to talk more about Brian Thomas and why he thinks that things like the existence of like Bethlehem or a stele with the name David maybe on it somehow means that the entire Bible is historically reliable, which that's not how logic works. I'm not saying that you can't rely on any of the history in the Bible. There are definitely things that we know are true from the histories of the Bible. But the fact that you can find an artifact that probably says House of David isn't the same thing as saying every single thing in the Bible is historically true. In fact, we know that some things in the Bible are definitely not historically true. For instance, there was never any guy named Darius the Mede who was the leader of any empire. Not a thing. We have a continuous list of all the kings and emperors or whatever in that area. There was no Darius the Mede. So, in fact, by that I mean there was no Darius who was a Mede. He was Persian. Anyway, thank you so much. After this, we are going to be watching Son of Godzilla over on the Discord. So if you are interested in watching Son of Godzilla as part of our Godzilla Watchathon, then please head over to the Discord. We will be watching it in general voice chat. If you are someone who was just recently gifted a membership, which is highly likely since we got 31 new members just in this stream, the way to get access to that Discord is to go to your Discord, go to settings, go to connections, and connect the YouTube account that has the membership. And then there will be a list of enabled servers in that section. Click on mine. It'll add you. So with that being said, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful, safe rest of your week. Bent, do you have any final words to say to the good people here?
Oh, yeah, I do. Lom Hochbo Klintach Lely.
All right. Well, thank you. Oh, yeah, and as far as Star Wars says, make sure you use the right YouTube account. Yeah, it has to be the one that actually has the membership. With that, the only thing I have left to say is, furthermore, ICE must be abolished.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Hovind, Tapioca Weasel, Arrow Dodger, Dan Sheedy, Eleron Teller, Phil Rivara, Ian Chen, Joshua Geese, Kelvin Brostic Van Manen, Landed Knoll, Regios, Sphincter of Doom, The Plastic Mouse, Vollus, North Texas Fossils, and John Ackerman. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.